Okay, the next topic I want to talk about is education benefits. And by education benefits, this really means higher education, aka college or university. Um, the benefits that you get for attending higher education, the tax benefits specifically, obviously. Okay, and the first thing on the first page, if you look at tab J deals with that concept. The first page, J1, deals with, first off, it says tax treatment of scholarship. Basically, if you have tuition and fees, and then you also gain scholarships, um, scholarships reduce the amount of education expenses you can use for tax purposes. Kind of cancels them out, right? So if you have $1,000 of tuition and you have $1,000 of scholarship, well, the scholarship paid for the tuition, you didn't. So you don't get to take that deduction. So you would have zero education expenses in that case. Okay? And then also, if, for instance, you have more scholarships than you have tuition. So say you have $1,000 of tuition, but you have $3,000 of scholarships. It would actually be that $2,000 extra dollars would actually be taxable income. So remember, all income is taxable unless said so otherwise. So this would be one of those cases where it is not excluded; it's part of income. Okay, but also on here, it has a very quick list of what is and isn't a education expense. So the main gist is tuition and fees and course related. They must be required for that course. Okay, if it's not required as a condition of being a part of that course, it doesn't count. So room and board, research, travel to and from the school, even your meal plan. So your food, that even if you're required to have a meal plan to be a part of the university, it doesn't count because it's not part of a certain course. Okay. So this is J1, and if you look through, there are three main types of credits and things that we're really going to talk about for this program, and they are the American Opportunity Credit, the Lifetime Learning Credit, and the tuition fees deduction. And we'll talk a little bit about those more later, but these tables are just here to give you overviews about them and can let you see real quickly all the information I'm about to give you as well. But I want to go down to here, and I want to show you what this is. 1098T, there's an example on page J9 that is good for you to see. So box 1 up here has $7,000. That's how much they paid in tuition and fees. And then box 5 will always have scholarships or grants, and that's how much we're going to reduce their tuition fees. So if you look here, they got a little calculation going. Looks like they put in the wrong number. They might have 500 from books from up here. Okay, so they had 500 for books, 7,000 from here. Total 7,500 minus the 3 in scholarships. The total would be 4,500. Remember, the extra 500 is just coming from the problem that they paid for books. Okay. But from the 1098T by itself, we have $4,000, the 7 minus the 3, to give us how much expenses from that. And they'll add on any other expenses like books and so on after. Okay. Now I want to talk about these three things real quick, and I'm going to start with the tuition deduction. And the reason why I'm going to start with it is because basically no one ever does that. Okay. It is there. It technically should be part of the discussion, but it just never gets used. It never gets used because the other two are just better. Okay. And then in terms of ranking, I've also ranked them in order. Okay. Tuition deduction is the worst, which is why it never gets used. And lifetime learning credit is better, but not as good as American Opportunity Credit, which is the best of the options for education expenses. Okay, but they have more rules for it, and one of the rules is only can take 4 years. Okay, you can only take 4 years of this. After that, you can't ever take it again. You also can't have a bachelor's yet. Can't have bachelor's or a 4-year degree. Okay. no felony drug convictions, so can't be drug felon, things like that, okay? But its main benefit is that $4,000 of expenses can become $2,500 of credit. So if you have $4,000 of education expenses for tuition or fees or books or whatever, you can actually get $2,500 less on your taxes. So essentially, you're getting $2,500 back from the government for going to college, or at least in a sense reducing the cost of your college by $2,500. And the way it works is the first $2,000, so from $0 to $2,000 is 100%. So for every dollar you spend for the first $2,000, you're going to get that whole dollar back on your taxes. So for instance, if I pay $1,000 in tuition and fees for the year, I'm going to get all of it back on my tax return, all 1,000. After that, from 2001 to 2000 and to $4,000, you get it at 25%. So the first $2,000, I get dollar for dollar for my expenses back on my tax return. And then after that, for every dollar I spend, I get a quarter back. Okay, so the first $2,000 really, really powerful. Really helps afford college for a lot of people, especially if you're planning to go for the first few years to Lone Star or some sort of 2-year college where the costs are a lot less. This makes it very affordable for students and people to go to college for their first time. Okay. After those 4 years, or maybe you're a drug felon or whatever else, any other reason why you don't qualify for the American Opportunity Credit, maybe you have a master's degree, like me, I have a bachelor's degree, and if I want to go for my master's, the expenses I pay I would not be able to take Opportunity Credit ever again, so I'd have to take Lifetime Learning Credit, which is not as good of a credit. It's only up to $2,000 of credit, and it requires $10K of expense to get there, because it's going to go from 0 to 10,000 at 20%. Okay, so in this instance, once again, I'm going to use the example of $1,000. If I have $1,000 of tuition expenses, American Opportunity Credit would give me dollar for dollar 100% back. So $1,000 under American Opportunity Credit, I get $1,000 back. Under Lifetime Learning Credit, with $1,000 of expenses, I'd only have $200 of credit. So a lot less powerful, a lot less bang for your buck, a lot less. But the bars or barriers to get it are just so much lower. Pretty much as long as you're going to college or accredited university or whatever, you qualify for Lifetime Learning Credit. So very good for people who want to continue going to college after American Opportunity Credit, or just are interested in taking some college courses but want to do it a little bit cheaper. So those are the main things. Remember, when you're calculating the amount of expenses, things like meal plan don't count, parking doesn't count, etc. So there are 2 questions that deal with these, mostly about which ones they qualify for and things like that, and also calculating how much education expenses total they have. So those questions are 12 and 15.